Always interested when UFO sightings or talk of aliens make national headlines.
Tale that's been told for more than 50 years. Did it happen? Was it all made up? Did aliens pick up?
Is Earth really the only planet with life, or is something else out there? Here's investigative reporter Shelby Myers with a story that just might make you rethink everything.
It was the early days of February 1986, and Alec Newald had taken a 3-hour drive to his hometown Auckland from Rotorua. To him, it had been a normal day with nice weather and a random encounter with some traffic. However, things were not the way they seemed to him, because while he thought he had been on the road for 3 hours, he had gone missing for 10 days. And worse, he had no idea a search warrant for a missing Alec had gone out when no one had heard from him and no traces had been found. So when he got home and found everyone hovering around him, excited that he was back, he was confused. Then he learned that he had been missing for 10 days when he had just gotten into his car for 3 hours. It was either he was insane or everyone in town had gone crazy. Whichever way, one person had to be saying the truth. Thus, the mystery became even more pronounced. The questions about his whereabouts never ceased, and family members and friends were still worried, especially when his body started breaking down due to exhaustion, constant headaches, and a troubled mind. Finally, some flashes of the events started coming back to him, and at last, he recalled what had happened. His revelation that Alec had been kidnapped by aliens shocked not only his family but the entire globe. One moment, I was behind the wheel of the car, and the next, I was out of sight. Like many normal humans, Alec was in shock when he realized he was not in his car but in an unknown realm. He spoke of being in a large, empty area and feeling as though his body had disintegrated. He initially believed himself dead, but strange beings started to materialize in front of him. They were unlike anything he had ever seen. They were slender, with huge heads and small eyes. Alec recognized that, despite their unsettling look, they were aliens speaking to him through telepathy because they were not speaking, but he could understand them. He understood that they wanted him to stay with them for a while, but for what purpose, he did not know, at least as it then. But he had the free will to leave. Alec was eventually brought to their metropolis, which he described as being quite large and very clean. All this was what he wrote in his book, Co-Evolution and Interplanetary Adventure, a book detailing his travels and the wisdom he learned from the aliens as a result of his amazing experience, an experience that would change his life for the better and for the worse. He described the building to be larger than anything he had ever seen on Earth. The city was dispersed all along the coast, separated from the desert only by a narrow strip of land. The terrain was mostly made up of small, rounded structures with a scattering of pyramid-shaped ones. These structures, which had spiral towers or antennas on top and resembled tinted glass or semi-transparent plastic, added to their mystique. Massive fixtures shaped like light bulbs topped each building, adding to its magnificence. He must have been so engrossed with these magnificent buildings and architecture that he even drew them in his book. But while he enjoyed what his eyes saw, the reason for his kidnapping was apparent to his kidnappers. The extraterrestrials wanted to teach him things so he could teach the rest of humanity. They disclosed the hidden history of Earth, which was kept hidden by occult cults, stressing that everyone should have access to this knowledge. The aliens said that both Homo sapiens and the progenitor species, Cro-Magnon, were essential to Earth's history, and that secret societies preserved age-old knowledge intended for the advancement of these residents on Earth. However, these cults eventually obscured this understanding, departing from the initial goal of achieving universal enlightenment. This realization struck a chord with Alec, emphasizing the difference between the fortunate few who are endowed with deep insights and the masses who are left in ignorance and must piece together the universe's piecemeal realities. Both Homo sapiens and the Cro-Magnon predecessor species are said to have been constructed by humans some 70,000 years ago, with the latter species intended to house a second, non-corporeal entity. This idea is consistent with several theological perspectives that emphasize spiritual development over material fulfillment and divide the body from the soul. Notably, though interpretations vary and often result in mistaken behavior, both Islam and Christianity support the protection of the soul over material enjoyment. After Cro-Magnon, a new species was created that had completely formed mental faculties, and didn't need any more evolutionary improvements. All the knowledge required for this species to go to the next stage of its evolution was passed down to Homo sapiens, who are seen to be the custodians of this wisdom. But only a few have access to it, and it was this knowledge they wanted you and I to get access to. It was as if they had kept Alec on a mission to let the world know this history, which will open the gateway to past knowledge and powers. However, with every great mission comes great obstacles. It happened that some authorities got a wind into what Alec knew, and they were not happy with it. After disclosing his experiences with aliens, Alec was the target of intense scrutiny. It became much more evident to him that what he knew might be making a few very uncomfortable when he noticed different shady cars tracing him and his movements, and at some point, he had to relocate. For one, he knew these authorities could not be trusted, and none of them seemed genuine. To make matters worse, ludicrous charges, such as being called a Nazi because of his father's heritage, were made. Alec refused to back down, blocking their attempts to cause him discomfort. But then, things darkened as these institutions planned a slew of misfortunes. Alec's profession as a car dealer was severely damaged following the 1987 stock market meltdown. He kept up his private trade, despite losing his license just to make ends meet, considering his life was in danger. When Alec met Jeff Wright at an Auckland auto auction, it looked like a good chance to make ends meet without much worry. Alec became interested when Jeff told him he had access to surplus Japanese import cars at wholesale costs. They worked together for 9 months, with Jeff informing Alec about possible purchases. Unknown to him, this was just a setup to hold him to a crime, where he would need help from these higher authorities, and then they would be able to negotiate his knowledge for his freedom. They cunningly let me stew on things for quite some time before they visited me again. It was just as you would expect, to cooperate, and we will fix things up for you with the police. I was determined to ride their bluff to the end. These people were meticulous and seemed to be able to reach into every corner of my life. There was no doubt they had done this type of thing before, but to whom and for what reasons? How many before I had been subjected to the same fate? I was rapidly losing faith in every part of our so-called justice system. I knew it was just a game for them, but this was my life. They were playing with. Alec continued to be obstinate, and his case, which should have taken no more than 6 months, took up to 2 years, requiring more than 20 court hearings overall. Alec was broke, his assets seized, and he didn't even have enough money to hire a lawyer. All of these attempts to get Alec to talk about his encounters with the alien and everything he learned were made, but for some reason Alec refused them after the case went to trial and he lost. After going through his legal ordeal, Alec felt he had to tell his story to everyone. The event had changed from being a personal conflict to a topic of public concern. The authorities' unrelenting pursuit just made Alec's story seem more important. However, it is difficult to tell if Alec's reports of seeing aliens are real or made up. His story, which implies a relationship between humans and aliens, is reminiscent of science fiction tropes. His account is made much more outlandish by the notion of a love involvement with a female alien. Although fascinating, these kinds of details belong more in a work of fiction than in a record of events. It is hard to confirm the veracity of Alec's experiences without hard proof. In the end, it's up for debate whether Alec really saw aliens or if he was just dreaming. Do you think he was telling the truth? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. Also, do not forget to like and share this video with people who want to know more about the happenings of this world.